far away. On the official channel. Yeah. There's tier 3 and there's tier 1. It's currently loading onto the channel. Game mode. Audio is working as it should. The stream's up, the chat's up, we're all good to go. That is absolutely fantastic. Hello everyone and welcome to round 2 of the PlayStation Pacific Tier 1 Championship here on Race Spec Esports. I'm Lane Everingham, your lead commentator for this event, and this time we're racing at Circuit Zanvort for the Dutch Grand Prix. It's one of the oldest racetracks on the schedule, having hosted its first ever race in 1948 and was part of the first ever Formula One World Championship in 1950. It also hosted the Dutch Grand Prix for many years, 32 in fact, until 1985, a race where the late great Niki Lauda would end up claiming his last victory in a Formula One race car. After 85, the track fell off the calendar, thought never to be seen in Formula One again. That was until a certain Dutch driver revived the interest of Formula One in the Netherlands. After a 36-year absence, Zanvort made its return last year, and it's looking like it's here to stay. The modern layout, which was revised in 2020, measures up at 4.26 kilometers and consists of 14 turns. Although it's not a lengthy course, it still features areas with a great deal of technical difficulty, none more so than the bank corners of turns 3 and 14, and the high-speed sweepers of turns 6, 7 and 8, an area that Chip is going through right now. The circuit also contains 2 DRS zones that lead into turn 1's Tarzan corner and into the Mickey Mouse turn 11-12 chicane. Turn 1 is realistically the only overtaking opportunity around the racetrack. As a result, qualifying is going to be incredibly important for achieving victory today. But before we focus on qualifying, there is a little bit of news to go through first from last week's race at Spa. A controversial one at that, a few incident reports put in. Some of which we actually saw on stream, some of which we didn't catch on stream. And I'm quite thankful for that, otherwise I probably would have exploded. The one that we did catch was between iContrast and Sandeezy at turn 16. The result of that shunt that we saw was a 10-second time penalty for Sandeezy plus 1 penalty point. It doesn't affect his finishing position, he stays in 17th. The second incident, which we didn't see, was on lap 22, with iContrast deliberately blocking Sandeezy down the Kemmel Straight, and actually punting Sandeezy as Chip goes off the racetrack there at turn 7. He's still in qualifying, he hasn't put it into the wall, so he should be A-OK. The stewards deemed that iContrast should have been disqualified from the Belgian Grand Prix, so his result isn't classified at all. He was also given 4 penalty points. As a result, he will have to serve a qualifying ban here for the Dutch Grand Prix, so he'll be starting plumb last. In the Drivers' Championship, GeForce Crichton is leading the way on 31 points, followed by Leo Azevedo on 23, or GeForce Leo now. Then Spicy is P3 on 20 points, followed by GeForce Ford, Plevs, Spilly, Tent Sandals, Darren 11, Chip, and Silderfort, rounding out the top 10. In the Constructors' Championship, McLaren are leading on 43 points, followed by Mercedes-Benz on 32. Red Bull are third on 18, followed by Ferrari and Alpine, both on 17 points. Then Aston Martin on 11, Alfa Romeo on 9, Williams on 7, Haas on 4, and AlphaTauri on 3 points. That's pretty much it in terms of news. I can now introduce my co-commentator for tonight, who was once again GeForce Pato. Pato, I already made my opinion clear about this racetrack. It's a technical little place. What are your general thoughts about this Zanvort circuit?
Good morning, everyone. First of all, good morning if you're in Europe, and good evening if you're in Australia. Well, it is actually one of the most difficult tracks in my opinion. Even on pad and on wheel, it doesn't change much because it's a really tight circuit and there are a lot of ups and downs, basically uphill and downhill corners, which make the track actually pretty fast as well. because the complex of turns 6, 7, 8. Oh, and GeForce Quadrant has spun turn 6. And it is actually really hard to overtake, as you said. Maybe if you get a good run, you can also overtake on the chicane after the 1000 corner. But it's going to be quite difficult with these drivers and the level of these drivers, to be honest. And it's all about setup, I think, in this track. Because, of course, in qualifying you want to be quick in the corners, so you want downforce on your car. But on the other hand, you're going to be a sitting duck, basically, on the straights. And if you get stuck in traffic, it's going to be so hard to overtake because of the downforce you got. So I think maybe some drivers who know that cannot reach top 5, maybe they are going for a more lighter setup, so to say, in terms of downforce. And we'll see what these drivers have for us in this race.
No, I completely agree with you, Pato. I mean, you don't want to be a sitting duck down the straightaways here at Zanvort. It's actually not too difficult. Oh, as 40 spun out of turn 10. Gets the car pointed back in the right direction, but that will ruin his flying lap. But yeah, it is achievable to try and pass into turn 1, so ideally you want some slightly slimmer wings to try and move past people. But that will compromise you a bit in qualifying, so you will lose track position. So it's a bit of a gamble. Do you take the high downforce so that you can try and set more optimal lap times? Or do you go with a slightly lower wing setup, so then you have a bit of a easier time making moves during the race? Because of course, in the middle sector of this racetrack where the wings are needed, you can't pass. So, you know, having high wings or low wings doesn't really make too much of a difference in the race. So, yeah, it will be interesting to see what the drivers do in terms of setup. But as of right now, the whole field, in terms of those who have set lap times, the whole field spread is 1 second from P1 down to P15. That is ridiculous, to put it lightly. But it just shows you the quality of this group of drivers, as Roscoe has a moment coming out of turn 7. We've seen a few drivers have moments there, and I won't be surprised if we saw a few accidents during the race at that particular corner. It is really high demand. It's a very fast corner. You're right on the edge of grip. And as soon as you exceed that limit by a little bit, you're more than likely going to end up in a barrier. It's just sort of how it works at turn 7. Coming out of turn 12 goes Roscoe, heading up towards turn 13. A very important corner, as it dictates how much speed you carry through this final bank corner and onto the main straightaway. Roscoe will open DRS and head up towards the line. It's a 12-3, but I'm sure he's got plenty of time to find throughout the rest of qualifying, as Wogboy's had a moment.
Yeah.
And a
Yeah, he's at the moment.
It's not Karma. It must be Izzat, who is on a flying lap. Oh, he might have got out of the way, actually. Because I did notice his Haas was stationary on the racetrack. He might have just been getting out of people's way. Leo making his way around turn 1. Tell you what, we're right on board with the McLaren driver. Give you a proper tour of the racetrack. Into turn 2, the right-hander. Then into the banked sweeper of turn 3. It's important that you get a nice exit here so you can carry as much speed through this flat-out section of turn 4, turn 5, and into turn 6. Now the critical turn 7. Just a slight dab on the brakes. He hits the apex, gets back on the accelerator, then heads up and around turn 8. Now into the hairpin of turn 9. Braking at the 50 board, bringing it down to 4th gear, then short shifting to 5th. Around turn 10, we'll head up to the 2nd. DRS, oh, no we won't, not quite. Oh dear. Well. Oh, Leo, be careful. You don't want to get disqualified. Oh, thank goodness he hasn't. Oh, and hello. What was that? That was Alpine driving by. Dearie me. But yeah, it's sort of demonstrating how traction limited these cars are and how nasty these curbs are as well. They're very violent here at Zanvort.
Yeah, it's because actually some curbs we have, like this one that Leo was riding, have got 2 layers. And these 2 layers unsettle the car really, really bad. Because if the curb would be flat, then the car would stick a bit more. But then if you touch the floor with on those curbs, then you're done. You're basically done.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it's a bit of a balancing act here at Zanvort as Isaac Kush actually ducks back down pit road as Spilly comes out to the final corner. Are you on a flying lap, bud? No, you're not. You're on an in lap. And I think Crichton might be on an in lap as well. Yeah, he's not using any battery, so he's on an in lap. GeForce Ford, on the other hand, has just begun a flying lap. We're right on board. He's our current pole sitter with a 1 minute 10.429. He's got pole position by 0.07 of a second to our current championship leader, GeForce Crichton. Out of turn 3, heading around turn 4, into the left-hander of 5, then the double right of 6 and 7. You see here, 7th gear, bringing it down to 6th gear, back on the accelerator as soon as possible, using plenty of curb on the outside. Now heading around turn 8, 6th gear again, as he heads up and around turn 9. Short shifting to 5th gear, very similar to GeForce Leo on his flying lap. Coming out to turn 10, no hint of wheel spin, no hint of oversteer for 40 as he heads down towards the chicane of 11 and 12. He's up by 2/10 to the middle sector. He's found quite a bit of time. Coming out of 12, yellow flags are about, slow car somewhere on the racetrack. Around turn 13, now one corner remains, the bank sweeper of turn 14. He'll open DRS, keep it nice and narrow on the exit as well. And 40 will cross the line to set at 10.169. He improves by over 2.5 to cement himself at the top of the table. I wonder how the other drivers will respond. Well, Isaac Kush is on an outlap. Leo's on an outlap as well. Same with Vengeance, who was reserving for today's race. He's a full-time driver in the Elite Series on Sunday, but he wasn't able to race on Sunday, unfortunately. His teammate, though, did quite well. He won the race, so it's a nice day for Williams. I'm sure he'll be looking to have a nice time here as well in the Tuesday tiers. As Leo makes his way down the main straightaway to begin another flying lap into turn 1, Tarzan corner, 5th gear, back on the accelerator, then up to full throttle just before the outside curb. Around turn 2, into turn 3, bringing it down to 3rd gear, just clipping the inside curb. Oh, that was a Mercedes. Was that Crichton? It was Crichton. He might have been a little bit in the way there of Leo, just a little bit. We'll see what Leo's time's like in the first sector, and he is down. Not by a lot, though. By only 28,000ths of a second. Up towards turn 8. Now towards turn 9. And he actually backs out of the lap. He's backed out of the lap. So he's going to cool the tyres down and either go for another flying lap or... Oh, hello. That's an Alfa Romeo. That would have been Wogboy getting by. Oh, hello. That's a Mercedes that spun. Was that Crichton? No, it wasn't. It was his teammate Hilles who had spun at the exit of turn 10. We got a Haas stopped down the straightaway towards the chicane of turns 11 and 12. Deary me.
And Kush is 1/10 up on his time. He's finishing the lap right now.
With that sort of improvement, he can jump up to P2, but it won't be enough to jump up to pole position unless he can find some time in this final sector. Isaac Kush will head up towards the line. It's a 10.3. It is P2 for now for Isaac Kush. GeForce Crichton on a flying lap, making his way around turn 3, 3rd gear, back on the accelerator, getting lovely traction out of the hairpin, around turn 4, into turn 5. What does the first sector say for the Mercedes driver? It says he's up by 0.5 and apparently purple according to the mini-map in the first sector. Out of turn 7, heading towards turn 8, bringing it down to 6th gear, back on the accelerator, heading towards the hairpin of turn 9, bringing it down to 4th, gently applying the throttle, 5th gear, then bringing it back down to 4th gear for turn 10. Again, gently applying the throttle. You don't want to apply too much too early, otherwise you'll spin, like we've seen from a few drivers tonight. And he's up by just under 1/10 to the middle sector. That's not enough to challenge for pole position. He needs to find quite a bit of time here in the final sector. Around turn 13, around the final corner, turn 14, he'll head back onto the main straightaway. He'll open DRS. Up towards the line for Crichton. It's a 1 minute 10.212. He's missed out on pole by about 0.5.
That's close. That's really close.
It's awesome to see. But Crichton actually found quite a bit of time in that final sector, didn't he?
Yeah, a lot actually, and it was quite intriguing to see the different driving styles that Ford and Crichton have in the chicane. For example, Ford was taking the chicane in fourth, the whole chicane, while Crichton preferred to go down to second to make less track distance as possible. And I don't know who's faster over there, to be honest, but it's really intriguing to see how different the drivers handle the corners and how they decide to go through them.
Yeah, and then you've got the fact of they're using different driving techniques in different parts of the racetrack, and they're still separated by half a tenth. Like it's not much at the top of the table right now. It's kind of cool.
Not at all.
Not gonna lie. As Chip completes the first sector, he's up by a tenth to the first sector, so he's found a little bit of time. Grimmy, he's making his way around turn 7. I wasn't able to check what his first sector looked like. As Chip makes his way out of turn 9, heading around turn 10, down to third gear, short shifting to fourth. Unlike a couple of drivers who just keep it in fourth gear, Chip elects to bring it down to third gear to try and find a little extra rotation. And he's up by 2/10. He's found time. He's looking at a high 10 if he can get this final sector spot on. He's heading up towards the penultimate turn, turn 13, bringing it down to fifth gear, using plenty of curb, but not too much. You don't want to get greedy with that outside curb. It can suck you wide and put you into the wall. I know that because I've done that, as Chip sets an 11 flat, 14th quickest at the moment. Hiller's on a flying lap as well, making his way out to turn 9, heading around turn 10. Grimmy coming towards the end of a flying lap. No, he isn't. He's going back into the pits. And I reckon with the time left on the clock, that's qualifying over for Grimmy. So that's really unfortunate for him. But it does happen from time to time, especially on a racetrack as tricky as this one. Vengeance on a flight. No, he's on an in-lap. He's used all his battery. He's currently P6, and I think that's the best time he's going to set all session. A 1 minute 10.613. GeForce Leo's making his way around turn 1. He's beginning what will be his final flying lap in this qualifying session. Similar story with Isaac Kush. He's coming out to turn 3, heading up towards the first sector split. It's a flat-out section here. There's no time gained or lost through this section. And the first, yeah, there you go, it sort of reaffirms the fact that he's only up by 0.005 of a second to the first sector. Around turn 8, heading up towards turn 9. Gets on the brakes, down to fourth gear, back on the accelerator, not daring to touch that outside curb at the exit of turn 9. It's a nice run out of turn 10. He'll open DRS and head towards turn 11. What does the middle sector say for Is that he's up, but only by 0.02 of a second. GeForce Leo, he's up, but not by much himself. Only 36 thousandths to the first sector. To the middle sector, I should say. Around the final corner goes Isaac Kush. He'll open DRS for the final time in qualifying, and it's going to be a 1 minute 10.314. He improves, but not by much. Leo will cross the line to set a 10.462. He jumps to P4. Crichton, he's coming out to turn 3. He's heading up towards the first sector split. 40, he's in the middle sector. He's used the grass on the outside of turn 10 there and spins the car. He's lost control. He won't be able to improve on his current time. Crichton, meanwhile, is heading around turn 8, heading towards turn 9. Again, down to fourth gear. Gently applying the throttle, then gets the full throttle. Around turn 10. Heading out of the left-hander, he'll open DRS up towards the middle sector split. What will the clock say for Crichton? He's up by 4 hundredths. He needs to find another couple hundredths in this final sector. He's got 2 corners to do it at. Turns 13 and 14, chucks it into 13, floors it out of the corner, around the final sweeper. He'll open DRS and head towards the line. Is it enough for Crichton? Is it pole position? No, it's not. He lost time in the final sector. Oh dear, it's P2 for Crichton. And I think, for the most part, that's qualifying over. Zach is massively down on his time. He won't be improving. Is that, yeah, his qualifying session is over. So there we are. It's 40 on pole with a 1 minute 10.169. P2 is Crichton with a 1 minute 10.212. Not much. Look at that, 42 thousandths of a second separating the top two at the end of qualifying. Whew. Alrighty. So, the results from quali. So GeForce 1-2, 40 from Crichton. Izat's P3, followed by Leo. Spilly P5, then Vengeance in P6. Ferrari Pro in 7th, then Bags Liddell in 8th. Wogboy in 9th, and Zach rounds out the top 10. 6 1/4 tenths of a second separating the top 10 at the end of quali. Luke P11, followed by 10 Sandals, Grimmy, Chip, Hilles, Plevs, Karma, Roscoe, of course, Contrast serving his qualifying ban, will start from the back of the grid in 19th place. Only 1.2 seconds separating the entire field at the end of quali. That's pretty good, considering how technical this circuit is.
It is. And let's also remind that no one in the top 5 improved on their last run. So let's all say it's all about pressure here. And Ford got the pole basically by putting his lap before the last run. And then he also spun on the last run because he was actually down. No, it was up like 0.07 of a second or stuff like this. So basically he overshot the corner just to gain that bit of time. But in the end, no one improved, so I think he's going to be happy anyway with with his pole position.
Oh, absolutely. He'll take it, that's for sure. That's a first for him for this season. So, no, he'll chalk that down as a win. But he needs to get the start right for this Grand Prix. He'll be starting on the outside. He'll be on the racing line. But if he doesn't get a good start, then Crichton has the inside line for turn 1. He'll be able to send it in and try and take the lead. And I think Crichton would want that. I don't think he wants to wait behind somebody. He wants to get out in front and go, knowing him. So...
yeah, let's not forget that battery usage is really bad around here, though.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
Because if you have the same pace, which is the case in terms of like Leo, Crichton, 4D, I don't know if it's really good to lead out of turn 1, to be honest.
Perhaps, but with Zach, though, he's a guy who gets out in front and goes. That's his style.
Yeah, I know.
And then he just sort of works backwards from that. He will defend his position. That's something that he's really, really good at, is holding his position. Like, he's a fantastic racer, but he's also a really solid defender. He knows where to put the car. So he'll get out in front, and if he can't pull away, then he'll hold everyone up. It's just what he does. So it'll be interesting to see who gets it right off the start. It'll also be interesting to see who's doing what in terms of strategy, because it's a dry start, so you get a free choice of whatever tire you want. Who's starting on what?
Top 5 on the hearts.
Well, there we go.
Top 5 on the hearts.
Now, I was talking to a mate of mine pre-race.
Yeah.
He said that it is possible to do a hard soft here. It's a bit of a stretch.
It is.
But the soft tyre can last somewhere in the region of 10 laps. So, I wonder if that's what the top 5 are thinking. Try and stretch the hards out and get it to a soft sort of stint right at the end.
Well, my opinion is that I've done some race runs over here, and I think I would have started with the hards as well, because they're much more consistent tire compared to the mediums in terms of tire temps.
Right.
And it is a really front-limited track, so basically, like, the fronts are gonna overheat really, really easily if you don't manage them. And the hards are quite consistent. Like, you can go down by 1/10 lap per lap until lap 22, 23, and then decide if you want to put new mediums or new softs. And before the start, I just want to say a little thing which is quite curious. The game, like in this game, the DRS zone is still at the beginning of the straight, but let's remember that in real life, the DRS zone was extended at the beginning of the banking.
In the banking,
Yes, that will be actually really, really good for league racing as well. But
absolutely,
Codemasters doesn't seem to react really well.
We might get it in a patch sooner or later, but
hopefully.
We'll wait and see. So we'll do a quick rundown. Top 5 are starting on the hard tyres. Next 3 drivers being Vengeance, Ferrari Pro and Bags Liddell. They're starting on mediums. Wogboy and Zach round out the top 10. They're starting on the hard tyres. Next 4 drivers being Luke, Tent Sandals, Grimmy, and Chip, they're all starting on the mediums. Hilez, Plez, and Karma are starting on hards. Roscoe Arm is starting on mediums, and I Contrast from the back of the grid is starting on the hard compound tyre. So we've got 8 drivers on the mediums. Everyone else is on the hard compound tyre for the start of the Dutch Grand Prix. Now, I have to try and get a decent angle at this. Unfortunately, I can't get the start angle that you used to get in previous games, because of course you can't. Alrighty, all 19 drivers are lined up ready to race. We've got 10 red lights, and we are underway here at Zanvort. It appears a nice start from the entire field. No major balking off the line, and 40 covers the inside line down into Tarzan corner. He'll lead the field around the right-hander as they head out of turn 1. Izzat's looking around the outside of Crichton as they head into turn 2. Izzat gets in front. Crichton down to 3rd, Spilly in 4th, followed by Leo. 2 wide between Vengeance and Luke here as Luke holds on to 7th place. He's going to try and challenge Bags here for P6. Around the outside at turn 5, down the inside at turn 6, and he's through into P6. Now, we do have a slight glitch in the interval, but that's okay. Don't have too much major battling. Everyone's just trying to sort themselves out on this opening lap, which is quite a wise thing to do. Hilez and Chip are battling for P14 here. They're side by side as Vengeance overtakes Bags Liddell. Chip holds on to 14th as Vengeance and Bags still appear to be battling. Down the inside, Vengeance will look here into turn 11. Bags will try and fight though, and he has the inside line for turn 12. Battling is an Alfa Romeo and Red Bull. That's Grimmy and Wogboy side by side, heading out to turn 12. 13 degrees and tumbles down the order. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. That really was quite unnecessary, if I'm totally honest. He was right there. Oh, 3 wide at the exit of turn 5. My goodness, that was tight. I'm quite impressed there wasn't an accident from that. Going 3 wide at any part of this racetrack, it's pretty much a death sentence, but somehow they got through it unscathed. Hilez and Plevs are battling for position as well. This is for P14 down the order. These guys scrapping fairly hard for the lower placings. They want to move forward. That's what Contrast has done. He's moved up from 19th up to 16th, and yeah, poor Vengeance getting spun. He's down in last with a fair bit of work to do, and he probably needs a bit of luck to go his way. 40 coming out of the bank sweeper of turn 14 has got a 7/10 margin to Isaac Kush. That might change in a few moments because here comes Crichton. He looks to the inside, sends it in, or side by side through Tarzan, heading out of turn 1 towards turn 2. More contact, spinning in the background is Spilly. Oh dear, the Red Bull driver has spun out from the top 5, I believe, all the way down the order to P16. Oh dear. Quite a few drivers finding trouble in the early laps here of the Dutch Grand Prix. Leaders make their way around turn 7. It's a bit of a gap back to P4. 1 second already. Sure, Luke will want to try and catch up. He doesn't want to have no DRS in these laps. He wants to try and keep up and then try and hold back the cars behind as well. Those being Leo, Bags, Tent Sandals, Grimmy, Zach. Zach a little bit ways back though, 1.2 seconds, and he's going to be under a bit of pressure here from Ferrari Pro. Look at him close in, looks to the inside but backs out. A nice sensible decision there from Ferrari Pro. He's willing to wait, but also he doesn't want to give Zach DRS down the main straightaway. I think that's more of the reason rather than going for an audacious overtake. He wants DRS down the main stretch. Here comes Ferrari Pro to take position, and Wogboy will be closing in as well, heading down towards turn 1. Not by enough though to attack. Oh, hello, is that Kush? Spinning at turn 1, drops down to P7. Oh dear. He was fighting up in the top 3. He's now down to 7th place. I can't see any damage on his car, and I'm not sure if he was helped or not. But the gap between Crichton and Ford has extended somewhat, 1.6 seconds between the two cars. So 40 starting to drive away. Looking at the Mercedes-Benz of Crichton, his car looks okay. I can't see any damage on his car. Not any visual damage anyway. But, there's some dramatic stuff going on in these opening laps here at Zanvort. My goodness.
Yeah. And I was actually on board with Luke on lap 1 when you overtook Leo. On the chicane, he tapped Leo just a little bit, and Leo almost lost the car. That's why Luke got past him. It was nothing major, but I think Leo was quite unlucky over there. And now he needs to rebuild this race because those mediums are going to start to drop off really, really quick. So he needs to overtake Luke as soon as possible if he wants to go for the win.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the idea of being on the softer compound tyre, being nice and aggressive at the start of the race and make the most of the softer compound. But yeah, they're not building a massive margin over those on the hard compound tyre. See here, you can see a couple of hard runners, those being Leo and Izzat, being mixed in with these medium runners. So those medium runners aren't really making use of their softer tyres right now. And as you mentioned, these tyres are going to fall off fairly quickly. So,
and talking about the contact between Vengeance and Spilly, was it Spilly? No.
Oh goodness, I can't quite remember.
Well, that crash we had before, I don't think it was a really wise move from Vengeance, especially on lap 2, to go on the inside on that corner, because it wasn't even alongside. So, yeah, it's really tough luck for him. Now he's in P19. It doesn't look really far away, though, so he can really rebuild this race.
Oh, something's happened to Zach. He has spun out on the banking, and he's facing the wrong way. Oh, and this is going to be tricky to do a flick spin here. Might get disqualified if he's really unlucky, and he hasn't been disqualified, thank goodness. Yeah. Zach,
well, this track is unforgiving, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. You make a mistake, this track punishes you. It's a proper old-fashioned circuit in that sense.
Yeah.
It's a bit like Suzuka in a way. It's narrow, it's fast, it's got nasty curbs. And if you make a mistake, the barriers aren't too far away. So, yeah, it's just really, really tough racetrack that punishes people. Which isn't too bad if you're sort of into that sort of thing. That challenge, rising up to the challenge of the racetrack. This is one of those. Suzuka is another. Monaco is the classic example of sort of this torture racetrack.
Yes.
But, you know, you have to keep off the curbs. That's the most important thing I can say here. Especially the inside ones. Nasty things. As Luke has a moment and a half out to turn 13. Nice catch though, but here comes Leo down the main straightaway with DRS open. Leo will look to the inside, and there's not much Luke can do about this. He'll try and fight around the long way, but Leo just has the grip. He gets in front, and Luke has to concede. He's down to 4th. GeForce Leo is up to 3rd. Axadel following just behind, same with Tent in P6. Then Isaac Kush half a second back. He's got some work to do making his way through the pack in front of him. I would love to know what happened to him, whether he spun on his own or whether he had help from Crichton, I'm not sure. But he's down in 7th place. Fair bit of work to do. Oh, and spinning is Grimmy. That is at the exit of turn 8. And he's actually pointed back in the right direction. It was a perfect pirouette from the Red Bull driver. A Max Verstappen spin, as it were. And fittingly enough, he's in a Red Bull. And here comes Wogboy with DRS open. He actually shuts it. He wants to stay behind Grimmy. And Grimmy does have to be a little bit careful. Those tyres would have got slight increase in tyre temps. So the grip won't quite be there. But, there's not much he's going to do about this. Wogboy's going to have him here down the main straightaway. He'll open DRS, close in on the Red Bull driver. Oh, look at the straight line speed Grimmy has, though. He's actually going to hang on to this. Well, I'll be.
Well, we were talking about battery, right? Grimmy has got some battery to use, and Wogboy has none. So, yeah, as I said, it's really difficult to keep the battery up on this track because there are not so many heavy braking zones apart from the chicane and turn 1, basically. So, using your battery in the best way, I think is key to have a good result on this race. For example, also 4D now has got 50%-ish of battery, and Crichton, as always, has got like almost 10%. But in terms of pace, I think Crichton is just a tad bit quicker than 4D because it's still gaining.
Bit by
bit. Yeah, just a little bit. So if you keep that pace, with low battery, then you're surely a tad bit quicker than the guy in front, usually.
But 40 could just be in conservation mode, just trying to save up a bit of resources, and that's definitely not what Leo's doing right now. He's trying to keep Luke at bay, who was also very low on battery. In fact, everyone's low on battery. Bags has got 20% as Chip overtakes Wogboy. That was for P10. 10 Sandals is doing well in P6. He's got 50-odd% in terms of battery life, so he's doing very well. Izzat's a similar story too, 49% next to his name. Ferrari Pro down on 14. Grimmy not doing too bad on 35. Chip on 44. Wogboy on 11 now as they head around turn 6 into turn 7. Hillers on 16. Players on 14. 38 for Spilly. 48 for Contrast. Vengeance on 33. 32 for Roscoe. 44 for Karma. And GeForce Zach also on 44. But that's to no surprise to these guys a bit further back. Sort of stuck in no man's land. There's no reason to use any of the battery, so they're just sort of waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, and I quite agree with 40 with this conservation mode right now, because it's just lap 10 now. It's a really long race, actually, even though the track is really short, of course, but it's 36 laps of one of the most technical tracks in the game.
Yeah.
So you need to be really careful, especially in the beginning of the race, because you don't want to throw like good result away.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I completely agree with what they're doing right now.
But, yeah, no, with a track like this, you need to maintain focus for as long as possible. You can't afford to lose focus. Because, as we've talked about earlier, you make even the smallest mistake here, you're in the barrier. It's just how it works around this racetrack. So it's a long race in terms of the mental battle. Just constantly being focused, reading the racetrack, trying to feel the car the whole way round, managing strategy as well on the fly, because who knows, we might have a safety car at some point and they'll flip strategies upside down. So
yes, it will.
If we had a safety car right now, it would play into the favour of the medium runners, I'd say. So
yeah, I completely agree. And I think actually Crichton has got a bit more downforce compared to Ford, because he's gaining just a little bit in the corners. I don't know if it's battery related or not, but in the corners Crichton seems to have the upper hand for now in terms of corner exit, because he's gaining a lot. Look at that. He slided a lot in this case. Oh,
Grimmy.
What happened?
Turn 1.
Grimmy. Oh, he lost his wing as well.
Yep. Hello, Haas. Oh, yeah. Yikes. Well,
let's say
got
Karma
a broken front wing, but yeah.
Let's say Karma trusted the ghosting system of this game.
Yep, he most certainly did. Gee whiz, that was something. Thank goodness it wasn't the big shuns, otherwise, yeah, might have seen the first safety car of the race right there. But, yeah, really unfortunate for Grimmy, putting it into the wall, getting front wing damage. He'll have to do an entire lap first, but he will have to pit and get that thing fixed, as 40 sets a new fastest lap. So he's still got pace in that car. And does he still have battery? He still has battery, 30-odd%. Crichton on 5. A typical Crichton style. He is always deathly low on battery. Leo behind, 3 seconds back. Hasn't really closed in on Crichton, but he's kept Luke at bay as Spilly overtakes Plevs. That was for P12. Is that still on the back of this, just unable to go anywhere? So, sort of a bit stuck. Yeah.
Let's watch out for Leo though, because he's on hard, so it's gonna go a bit longer, of course, compared to Luke Bags and 10 Sandals. But I think he's gonna get stuck in traffic after the first round of pit stops. So he will have new tires, but I think Luke Bags and 10 Sandals will overtake him after that.
Potentially, yeah, with an undercut. So, with a big
exactly.
Undercut.
It's gonna be quite nice to see if he comes out in front in the first place. and then if he manages to go up again to that P3 afterwards, if there's not any safety car, of course.
Well, another thing that these torture tracks tend to have in common, like with Suzuka and Monaco, strategy tends to play a massive part in determining the result as much as qualifying. Yes. So yeah, Leo, he's at the front of this train, as you rightly mentioned, but yeah, everyone behind him's going to pit for fresh tyres. I imagine they won't battle too much in the middle phase of the race. I mean, they will battle a little bit, as they are racing drivers, but they will essentially do a massive undercut on Leo, and it's probably more far-fetched on the top two. They are a fair way away. But who knows how powerful that undercut may be.
Yeah, as you said, track position on this track is like really, really important. It's as important as I think in Monaco or like... Oh, and Plebs has spun.
Yes, he has. Izzat's overtaken 10th for 7th, and Plebs is now down in 15th, leaving some sand on the racetrack as well, marking his trail back onto the racetrack. And we'll have Roscoe right behind, giving him trouble. So yeah, a few drivers getting into trouble, but remarkably no safety car as of yet, and not even a single retirement. All 19 cars are still very much running. So that's really, really good to see. Just need to keep their heads down and get to the checkered flag. We've got a long way to go, though, until the checkered flag. As Vengeance peels into the pit lane from 14th place, he'll likely go onto a set of hard compound tyres. He'll drop back to the very tail of the field.
Ooh, for the big slide to turn 7.
Yeah.
But he doesn't seem to have lost a lot of time.
Not a great deal, no. He lost about 700ths or so to Crichton. You see there, Crichton using battery down that straightaway. What little battery he's got, he's using it. That's just Zach, I guess. See, I do that. I lose about half a second a lap. He does it. He's still fast.
Oh, Crichton touched the curb on the last corner. He almost hit the wall. He made a big mistake. Oh my goodness. He was really close to crushing, mate. He was really, really close.
Well, the gap has increased now to 2.7 seconds. Is that push down the inside of Bags Liddell? That was for P5. Yeah, no, that's hurt Crichton. Fair bit. The gap has doubled between him and his rival. It's going to be tough to get that back. It's going to be really tough to get that back. But no, you have to be careful with the curbs there. Gotta be careful.
Drivers are gonna start to listen to us at some point.
Offering golden advice here.
Free coaching.
Oh dear, oh dear. Running wide is Sandals. He's actually taken out a Fly Emirates polystyrene board there, so rest in peace, polystyrene board. We will miss you. But yeah, he ran awfully wide there and somehow kept it out of the barrier. That is probably the most remarkable thing out of that he managed to go onto the grass and not end up in the barrier. That was pretty cool. But he's now 1.5 seconds back. It's Crichton, in a response to his mistake, sets a new fastest lap. Now drivers are in to get off the medium compound tyre. They've done 15 laps on their mediums. Hard tyres at the ready for everybody. I'll go hard tyres for Luke. So Sandals, it's hard tyres. Yeah, everyone's moving to hards. Everyone's moving to hards.
And Crichton has made the fastest lap, but 40 was like just half a tenth slower. So he didn't gain that much, and 40 is doing a really, really good race. I was watching also the race director and the lap times he's getting, and he's really, really consistent. I mean, what do you expect from Ford and Crichton? It's always like this.
Yep.
Not a surprise, but I'm always amazed to see those drivers like race and be so consistent. That wasn't a really common Crichton mistake. It happens just once every championship, I think.
Oh yeah, maybe twice.
But also, as you said, like, it's really important to stay on track, and he managed to do that. Like, I think after that mistake, if he ends up P2, he would be really happy with it. Anyway.
And you got to have your eyes on the championship, I think, if you're Crichton.
Yes.
I mean, you won them 5. You've won 5 of them already. I don't think you're going to be stop winning them. So, a P2 finish is just as good. First place in the context of a championship, as Chip pits in 5 on track. Gaps are pretty big now. It's starting to spread out just a little bit, but they will close up again after the pit stop cycles towards the end of the race, hopefully. Cross our fingers. But we do have one train, and that is the train for P10 on track. Luke, Liddell, Sandals, Karma on the back of this as well. But Karma's on 16 lap old hards. He won't have the grip of the 3 cars in front of him, so he's bound to lose some time to the 3 in front. Spilly still on the back of Wogboy. We might see a pass here heading down the main straightaway. You can see the sparks flying off Wogboy's car as Crichton gets a set of mediums out. He's not doing hard soft, he's doing hard mediums. Isaac Kush sets a new fastest lap, states his intent. He's going all out right now.
It's going to be really key for Crichton to come up in front. No, he doesn't manage it. Spilly fighting with Wogboy.
Side by side out of turn 1, heading towards turn 2. They're still side by side, but Spilly with the inside line at 2 gets in front. He is now into 4th place. Ferrari Pro on a fresh set of hard tyres sets the new fastest lap at 1 minute 13.6. Crichton 2 seconds behind this battle for P4 is on fresh mediums with a lot of work to do on those tyres. He needs to get by the 2 in front of him as soon as possible. I contrast just behind as well on old hard, same with Hillez and Plevs. And the first of the hard runners pitted a few moments ago, Luke in P10, closing in on his teammate at a rate of knots. Now, what do the front runners do in response to Crichton's decision? Does 40 stay out? The answer is yes, and in fact, he sets a new fastest lap. In comes Leo. He was all out of battery at pit entry. He used all of it. Medium tyres at the ready for Leo. Up go the jacks. On goes the medium tyre. And away leaves the McLaren. Here's that Kush. Pitting for mediums as well. On go the fresh tyres and away he leaves. So Crichton now has got clear air. 20 seconds of it, in fact. And now he knows what he needs to do. Push like crazy. Basically.
Yes.
But don't overheat the tyre.
Actually,
really important you don't do that.
And Leo has actually jumped everyone. Like, because Luke, Bags and 10 Sandals are pretty far behind. They didn't fight that much.
No.
No, they didn't. And let's see now if Plebs can help Luke in this, because they're teammates. So maybe he can get Luke past and then try to hold up all the others.
That doesn't help though! That does not help at all! Luke, on the outside curb of turn 8, loses control, brilliantly gathers it back up, but he did lose a place and now he's fallen into the clutches of 10 Sandals as G-Force Ford goes into the pit lane and puts on a set of medium compound tyres. So it seems that not too many people are opting for the hard-soft strategy. As Ferrari Pro goes down the inside of Karma, that was at turn 11. So Crichton sets a new fast lap. Here comes 40 out of the pit lane. 40 has to obey that white line at pit exit, so it will cost him a little bit of time. The gap is 1.4 seconds, and that will shrink as there's yellow flags out. It's Vengeance who lost control coming out to turn 13. Crichton will close in because his tyres are going to be up to temperature. 40 needs to be a little bit careful on his tyres. They won't be fully up to temperature, not just yet anyway. So Crichton within a second, that is key for his race. He is within DRS range of the race leader, but he is very low on battery compared to 40, who is on 30%.
If he's got a chance, it's going to be now for Crichton. Not now, of course, like on the main straight.
On the main straight.
Not here. Yeah.
Yeah, what will Ford do? Will he spend his battery to try and build up that 1 second margin again, or will he just let Crichton stay around him for a bit? Be interesting to see what happens. Yeah, Crichton using his battery around the final corner onto the main straightaway. He opens DRS, uses whatever battery he has left. He's on 0% now. He's out of battery. Cy Luke overtakes Bags Liddell as well. So leaders head around turn 1. Hilles into pit lane. So the medium tyres at the ready for the Mercedes driver. On they go, and away he leaves. Spilly, new fastest lap, 1 minute 12.650. He's currently in P11. Trying to close in on Ferrari Pro in P10. Yeah, it seems that Plebs isn't too keen of letting his teammate through just yet. He's still right behind. Just lingering behind in 7th place. Around turn 7, heading towards turn 8. The gap is 0.3 of a second between these two, but yeah, Cy Luke just really can't do too much within this middle sector as Vengeance retired in the pit lane. Yeah, he's had enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. He's had enough.
Luke is weaving around like...
Yeah.
Let Snow is there.
Says, hey mate, you know, you could do me a favour here, you know. You could let me by. Would be nice.
Let's think about the team, the constructors.
Yeah, this is Esteban Ocon, Fernando Alonso right here.
Yeah. It's going to get
F1 22 style. Grimmy's retired. He's crashed. He's properly crashed.
Plebs goes in the pits now, and there's
a safety car. It's a safety car.
Timing.
Ha ha. You're joking. You can see the yellow dot making its way out of the pits. Grimmy has crashed out. That is at the exit of turn 8. And we've got safety car number 1 on lap 22 of 36.
Wow. What a timing from Mr. Race Spec to come in.
You could... Oh, actually, no, you can't see any tyre marks at all. I can't even see a barrier misplaced. Yeah, Grimmy's car despawned before I could see where it ended up. But yep, fortunately for Grimmy, he's out of the race. Our second retirement of this race. We're down to 17. This race got a little bit spicier. The safety car coming out. Now, what did the leaders do? I mean, it's lap 22. We've got, when they cross the line, 14 laps to go. So,
Zach hasn't got anything to lose, so he put new softs.
No, they both stay out. Leo?
No, I think G4 Zach. No, not Crichton.
Zach down in 70. Yeah.
Yep.
He's putting on fresh softs. That makes sense. Any of the hard runners wanting to gamble? No.
Nope.
No one wants to take a gamble. Alright, fair enough. Look, even during the safety car period, the field is still incredibly close. So if you do pit, you are going to lose a fair bit of track position.
Yeah.
And it's even on the soft tyre, it's going to be seriously difficult to get it back. So yeah, it's probably a wise thing to keep track position over a better set of tyres. So
yeah. And then let's remember, like, the guys who started on mediums don't have any new mediums, because in this game, for some reason, you just have one set of mediums and one set of hards for the race.
Yeah, that's the tyre allocation that we've got. So,
which is kind of silly, but yeah.
Well, in a sprint race format, you get 2 sets of mediums. So.
Oh well.
You do have that. And we'll be watching our first sprint race in a few rounds' time over at a brand new racetrack for Race Spec Esports, Miami International Autodrome.
I think it's going to be round 4.
I believe that's right. Round 4 or 5, one of the two.
Yeah, next round is going to be Monza, and then afterwards I think it's going to be Miami.
Yep. So now we get to see the brand new sprint race format at a brand new racetrack as well. It'd be interesting to see how the fellas fare in a league race around Miami. It's definitely a interesting circuit. Whether you like it or not is completely up to you. I'm not a massive fan of the racetrack myself. It is a bit tough, especially on a pad. Any track that has any high-speed corners is tough on a pad. So.
Yes. completely agree.
So, yeah. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see nonetheless. I'm sure these guys will put on a hell of a show when we get there.
We hope so.
And it seems that Zach actually moved back onto the mediums. He only did one lap.
Yes.
On the soft tyres, and he's back onto a set of mediums. He's got a fair bit of catching up to do. 41.7 seconds. Yeah, he's got a lot of catching up. In fact, he's using battery to try and catch up during the safety car period. I think the safety car should stay out for one more lap, so he will get, hopefully, the opportunity to catch up to the tail of the train. Hopefully.
Well, at least his tires are going to be, like, with temps up.
Yeah, as
really
contrast has spun.
Oh. Not good from AlphaTauri. Not good.
Nope. That's, yeah. Top 15 score points here in Race Spec. Both AlphaTauris are outside the top 15. So, not good. Not good. I don't know what happened to Contrast. Maybe he gassed it up at the exit of turn 9, or maybe he got a helping from a car behind. I'm not sure. If he did get some help, maybe the driver got damaged and they might go down pit road. Yeah, no, maybe so. No. No one's got damage, so maybe he did lose it by himself. I had the misfortune of doing that to myself in a league race here. Spinning out during a safety car period. Those tyres, especially hard tyres, are really tough to keep in a ideal temperature range. It's tough because you have to run minimum pressures everywhere. Because if you run maximum pressures, then you'll be overheating the tyres all the time. So you have to put it all the way down to minimum.
Yeah.
So during these safety car periods where the cars are really slow, it is seriously tough to keep temperature in the tyres. I actually lost it here coming out of turn 8. I put it into the inside wall. Gassed it up a bit too much and, yeah, lost the car. Put it in the wall. Fairly embarrassing, but...
I know that feeling. Happened to me as well a couple of times.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's not fun when you put it into a wall. It's even less fun when you do it during a safety car period, so... Alright, everyone's caught up. Safety car's going back into the pits. So 40 will control the field. Get rid of the tyre graphic for now. We probably won't need it just yet. Get rid of the telemetry graphic as well, just to try and increase the viewing space. That's a bit better. So, 40 gets to decide when we go back on the green flag racing, and there's no real way of trying to disguise sort of a restart. The final corner's flat out, so yeah, you can't really gain much from a safety car restart. Can make a fool of yourself, as Formula 2 demonstrated in real life. But,
yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to say that.
But so long as you don't do anything silly, we're going to be all good. And we're now back on the green flag racing. It's lap 26 of 36. It's 11 laps to go. And Leo's looking around the outside of Crichton here at turn 1. Can he stay on the outside? Not all. A wiggle. I think there was a touch. And Isaac Kush goes through into third place. There must have been a touch between Crichton and Leo there at turn 1. Because, yeah, Isaac's through into third now. Right onto the back of the Mercedes-Benz. Leo down to fourth. Luke up to fifth. Then it's Liddell, then Ferrari Pro. Spilly's P8, followed by Wogboy and Hilles. That's the top 10. Everyone's keeping it relatively sensible right now. No one going for any audacious or ridiculous moves just yet. Still got a fair bit of racing to go, so we won't see any desperate driving just yet. Around turn 10. Heading down the straightaway towards turn 11. And the closest battle we got at the moment between Wogboy and Hilles for P9 and P10. Contrast has overtaken Roscoe Arm down the inside, it seems, of turn 12. He's up into P15, back into the points. It's 40 out in front. He's got a 6/10 margin to his G-Force compatriot, G-Force Crichton. But this battle is certainly not over between these two. It's very much on. Now,
And Plebs goes down the inside of Chip. They're not side by side. No, he doesn't manage to do that.
He's trying to find a way by, though. He's looking left and right. Oh, and there goes Chip. There he goes. Lost control of the car. It's pointed back in the right direction. He's now down in 17th place.
Too much pressure to handle.
Yeah, these cars are also just very traction limited. You have to be very careful on the throttle. You can't go too hard on the accelerator too early. Otherwise the car just goes on you. So you have to be so very, very careful. And these guys are running no assists except for racing line. So they're having to do it manually, not getting any game assistance. So if you do it just a little bit too much, the game can't save you. You spin. And he was fortunate enough to not put it into the wall as well. Now it's lap 28. DRS is now enabled. And everyone inside the top 16 will have DRS. Except for Ford at the front of the field. Everyone's within a second of one another. Except for Luke now. As Crichton has a wiggle out of turn 3. Luke's got a 1.1 second margin to the car ahead, and that's increasing to 1.2. 1.2 and a half. So yeah, Luke's losing a little bit of time to those in front. So that's not surprising. Those in front have medium compound tyres that are still relatively fresh from the safety car period. So, oh, is that spun? He's, oh dearie me, did he keep it out of the barrier? Oh, and another spinner. It's Spilly. Spilly spinning at turn 9. He drops it down to 16th. Izzat's in a battle now. There goes Roscoe Arm. Here comes G-Force Zach trying to find a way by. Can't do it here. Through 11, through 12. And I think Izzat will hang on to P13 here. And he will. So yeah, Izzat spun the car coming out of turn 9. He managed to check the car up and not put it into the wall somehow. And it seems Spilly spun in almost a similar fashion. Exact same corner. He's down in 16th. Hillers has overtaken Plez. Appears that Plez might be fighting back. Yes, he is. Around turn 2, looking around the long way. No contact between the two drivers, and Plez hangs on to 8. 10th, though, closes in. So does Karma and I Contrast as well. So we've got a nice little train of cars forming here, battling for P8 on track.
And no one has got any penalties yet, which is actually really, really good from all the drivers.
Absolutely. This is something that I saw in the Elite Series, although one driver did get a time penalty, but that was thanks to his wheel shutting off.
Well,
that was spicy, actually. His wheel shut off twice. Once coming out of the pit lane, which put him into the gravel trap outside of turn 1. The other time, it put him into a wall and it brought out a safety car. So, poor fella. Now, those are always the worst when technical issues get you. It's not you. It's not somebody else. It's your rig that gets you. That would just suck so much. It's like a controller disconnecting on you. It would just suck.
Yeah.
But, a few battles going on, which is quite nice. We've got Bags and we've got Ferrari Pro battling for P5. As I mentioned before, we've got this train of cars battling for P8, though Hillez has lost time to Plez. These three are bunching up. Karma, Contrast, and Izzat Kush. Izzat's going to be on a charge to try and recover some lost places after his earlier spin. He's got a fair bit of work to do, though. And he doesn't have a lot of time to do it either. Only a few laps remaining in this race. And it's a 3-car fight out in front. 40. Crichton, Leo, first, second, and third, coming out of turn 12, heading towards turn 13. Crichton, 3.5 tenths behind. Can he line up 40 here down the main straight? 40 gets a hell of a run around the final corner. He felt like 2.5 tenths around turn 14 alone. 40.
He's always been much quicker than Crichton in the last corner.
Wow, wait.
And the penultimate, yeah.
Well, if that's the case, it's going to be really, really tough for Crichton to find a way by down the main straightaway. He needs 40, I think, to make a mistake somewhere on the racetrack. allow Crichton to basically be on 40's gearbox, or to try and create a pass. And Leo just behind, waiting in the wings for the two in front to battle, so he can try and capitalise on the situation.
Waiting for chaos to unleash.
Pretty much. Not a bad tactic either. It almost worked in Elite Series, where we also had a 3-car fight at the front, involving drivers Marcus Costa, Silderfort, and Hillez. And it was quite entertaining to watch, not going to lie. And it was in wet weather conditions as well, which made it even more remarkable. But right here, right now, 3-car fight, all 3 drivers separated by about a second from first to third, as Isaac Kush overtakes Eye Contrast. That is for P12. Here comes Crichton down the main straightaway. You can see the flashing red light at the back of the Mercedes-Benz. He is low on battery, but that's not at all surprise, really. Coming out of turn 1, the gap is 2.5 tenths between the top 2. Into turn 2, the right-hander. Then turn 3. Drivers hug the bottom, which is completely opposite to what the real-life drivers do here at Zanvort. It's a high line for sure around turn 3, but in the virtual world, you have to hug the bottom. You have to hug the bottom. Oh, and I think 40 might have dipped the wheel into the grass there at turn 7. I'm not certain, but he looked awfully close to dipping a wheel onto the grass. Around.
You don't lose that much time over there, though.
No, he didn't.
Went a bit wide.
Oh, and Crichton looking at turn 10 of all places. An audacious spot to try and pass. Here we go, up to turn 11, trying to look for a move, but doesn't commit to it. Probably a wise thing to do. You don't want to give your rival DRS down the main straightaway, especially 40, who looks so quick in the final part of this racetrack. Coming out to turn 13, around the bank sweeper of 14. 40 pulls away just by a few hundredths, but Crichton, he's still very much there. It's now lap 33 of 36. We've got 4 laps to go. The leaders go into turn 1. Crichton sends it in deep. He is right on the back of the Ferrari. Leo is still waiting, 8 tenths behind. He is still there in this battle. Around turn 3. Crichton trying to not lose too much time here as Isaac Kush overtakes 10 Sandals. That's for P10. Around turn 5, into turn 6, then turn 7. Crichton having to deal with the dirty air coming off the Ferrari in front, but it's not affecting him too much, not losing any time whatsoever as they head around turn 8 and down into the hairpin of turn 9. 4 tenths separating the 2 cars right now, make that 3.5 tenths as they go around turn 10. Now Crichton will get DRS here. He will close in by a little bit, not by enough to challenge. He is gaining time. That's the important thing. As Ferrari Pro overtakes Bags Liddell, that is at turn 10. But Bags gets DRS down this straightaway. He's looking to... Oh, he shuts off DRS. He's going to stay behind. Yellow flags are out. That is Chip making a mistake, spinning at the entry to turn 9. Around the sweeper. Out of the sweeper, down the main straightaway. The gap is 3 tenths of a second. It is now 3 laps to go. Crichton closes in, not by enough though to challenge into turn 1, but he is right there, 2 tenths behind, right on the gearbox of the Ferrari of G-Force Ford. And Leo still waiting in the wings, just watching the 2 in front scrap, waiting for his moment to strike. Heading through the high-speed S's, up towards the sweeper of turn 7. The gap 3 tenths between the top 2 cars. Around turn 7, the incredibly fast right-hander. Into turn 8, Crichton holding the gap at 3 tenths as they go into turn 9. Both cars pull it up nicely. Oh, a bit of a wiggle, though, from Crichton, costing him a few precious hundredths of a second. As he comes out to turn 10, he'll get DRS, but the gap is increased to half a second. Is that the mistake that matters? That teeny-weeny, tiny-whiny mistake? That's all it takes. It is incredibly close between these top 2 cars, and it's cost him about 1 to 1.5 tenths of a second. It's not much, but it really does matter, especially when you consider when 40 crosses the line, it's 2 laps to go here at Zanvort. Down towards turn 1. The gap still hovering at half a second between the top 2. Leo's still just waiting behind. The leaders now make their way up towards turns 2 and then turn 3. Crichton doing all he can to catch up. 40 doing all he can to pull away. They're still incredibly even, the top 2. Nothing really separating them. And Leo doing an amazing job hanging on as well. keeping this a proper three-car fight around turn 7, up towards turn 8. The gap still hovering at about 4/10. Crichton closes in just a little as they head around turn 9, up towards turn 10. No wiggle this time around from Crichton. He keeps his car nice and straight as they head down the straightaway with DRS open towards a chicane of 11 and 12. The gap still at 4/10 of a second. Yellow flags are out. That is Tent Sandals spinning at turn 9, and he drops behind his teammate down to 15th place. Out to turn 13, around the final corner, turn 14. This is Crichton's one and last opportunity to try and go for the lead. Yellow flags are out. It's Gilles who has spun out at turn 12, and he drops down to 13th place. A bitter blow for Mercedes-Benz. Oh, and another little wiggle there from Crichton as he desperately puts the power on. Another tiny mistake. That's cost him another precious 10th of a second. I think with that mistake, that's a final nail in the coffin for Crichton. He is too far away to try and challenge Ford. All that Ford needs to do is get through this final lap without making a mistake. If he does that, he should be able to take the checkered flag. Around turn 8 for the final time. Around the hairpin of turn 9, he pulls the car up nicely. Doesn't use any of the outside curb. Uses the full width of the racetrack. He still has enough confidence in the car to use the full width of the circuit. Testament to how drilled in he is right now into this racetrack. He's driven an absolutely superb race. Hasn't put a single foot wrong 40. He comes out of turn 12. One final path of the racetrack remains, turns 13 and 14, and he gets through it completely unscathed. He'll head down the main straightaway, and G-Force Ford will win the Dutch Grand Prix. Crichton comes home in second, and Leo crossing the line in third makes it a G-Force 1, 2, 3. Luke will cross the line in a very creditable 4th place. Ferrari Pro P5, and it's carnage at the line as the drivers crash into one another and celebrate that they actually made it to the end of the race. Bags Liddell P6, followed by Wogboy, Plebs. Isaac Kush recovers to 9th, and I Contrast, after a qualifying ban, finishes inside the top 10. Credit to him. It's not an easy track to make passes at. He managed to get his way back into the 10. Karma 11th, followed by Zach, Gilles. The two Aston Martins of Roscoe and Tent Sandals will round out the points. Spelly is next with fastest lap, so he will get that extra point, as anyone in the race can score fastest lap. And Chip will cross the line in 17th place, our final finisher in this Grand Prix. Well, another interesting end to another Dutch Grand Prix. I Contrast was given driver of the day. After starting from last, he finished in the top 10, as I mentioned before. Now we get the corridor of celebration, I suppose, for our race winner. Although the avatar doesn't really do much, they just sort of walk down the aisle, shake their hands a bit. It's really not much. That's yeah, 40, win number 1 for this season. Taking the win after a pretty perfect drive on his end. As I mentioned before, didn't really put a foot wrong. Crichton will get podium 2 of 2. He won at Spa and he finished second here at Zanvort. He will extend his championship lead, and Leo finishing P3 in the final results. Sure, you'd be pretty happy with that, only being a few tenths behind the top 2 at the end of the race. There we are, the unofficial results of the Dutch Grand Prix. G-Force Ford put it on pole, and he won the race as well. A nice day in the office for the Ferrari driver. Crichton P2, then Leo P3. Luke P4 from starting 11th as well. That's a solid effort from Luke. A lot more solid than I initially gave it credit for. Ferrari Pro P5, yeah. And then Liddell in P6, Wogboy 7th, Pleds from 16th to 8th. That's another big drive. So both Alpines recovering really well after qualifying. Isaac Kush, what could have been for him, P9. I Contrast driver of the day, P10. Then Karma, Zach, Gilles, Roscoe, Tent Sandals, and outside of the point, Spelly, but he does have fastest lap, so he will score 1 point. Chip, and our 2 retirements, Grimmy and Vengeance. That's Hello, Crichton. I noticed you joined the party.
How's it doing, boys?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad at all.
Hello, Zach.
No,
Hey, Marco.
You definitely had a interesting race. A few moments here and there.
Yeah.
But did you invite all three of them here, Marco, or is it?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Appreciate that. But hopefully they'll join up in a few moments. And I was so close, Zach. So close.
Yeah,
But,
for sure I felt like I had the pace, but yeah, a few things didn't go my way.
Hello, 40.
Hello, Spec.
I'm sure
Hello,
you're a
baby.
happy chappy right now.
Oh, yeah. And a tired chappy after two.
A tired chappy, yeah. I'm not
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah.
Zanvort can drain you. You have to stay
Mate,
focused.
the shoulders are going to have a little break tonight after that.
That's good to hear. Putting in the hard yards for that one. Earned it
mate.
tonight.
Zach was there the whole way, mate.
And this man wasn't too far behind you either. Hello, Leo.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Leo.
Now, I'll just quickly go blue screen for a moment. I will adjust all your audio settings accordingly. Just so then we can hear you nice and clearly. There we are. Volume. Because this is something you can do. You can change the volume settings of people in the party. So I've got to use that more often. But as per usual, we go from third and we'll make our way up. You know the drill. So, Leo, we'll start with you. Another nice performance from you today. This time P3. First of all, how was qualifying for you? You managed to put it on the second row, qualified P4. How was the lap?
Yeah, qualifying, I wasn't happy with qualifying, to be honest. I just didn't do a great lap, but it was still, what, P4 or something, so...
Yep.
Yeah, I just made too many mistakes in my lap, basically. Not that great, but I don't think I could beat a 0.1, to be honest. It was quick.
Bit too far out of reach.
Yeah.
But where did you feel like you were making mistakes? Any particular areas, or was it just sort of areas at random?
No, it was more just, like, nerves, just not fully committing to the lap, just...
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
See, I do that every time I do a lap during qualifying. Except for the very first one. Banker times are great. And then I continue to screw up throughout the rest of qualifying. It's fantastic. But how was the race on your end, Leo?
It was, I mean, at the start it was a bit unfortunate because the medium guys were right behind me and I just got swallowed up, and then and the guys ahead just pulled away and I couldn't keep up, and I was like 5 seconds behind the lead after that, which was a shame. But after that, I think Crichton undercut me and he gained like 2 seconds or something, which was ridiculous. I don't know what happened there. I don't know, but yeah, I think I drove well. And that last part was crazy quick.
Oh, yeah. That final segment with you three was actually fairly entertaining to watch. But, no, was it just playing a patient game in that final part? Just waiting for the two in front to hopefully crash into one another?
No, it wasn't patient. It was full quality lap after quality lap. I was
You were giving
just
it
trying
some.
to keep up. I was really trying. That's probably the fastest I've ever gone, to be honest. And they were just still quicker than me. But yeah, the pace at the end was crazy, to be honest.
Well, you stuck with them, to your credit.
Yeah, but Crichton was right on 40. I don't know how he's that quick. Oh well.
But no, it's still a good performance, a big result. You got a P2 last week and now a P3 this week. So I think that will cement your spot in second place at the championship right now. So, and also, gaining points because your teammate isn't here tonight. So, no, this isn't a bad effort at all from you. But Marco,
Overall, I'm pretty happy with this bit.
Marco,
Well,
have you got anything
GG,
to add?
Leo. Yeah, consistent race as always. It didn't look like you had pace to get in front of Crichton and Ford, but in the DRS train it's always going to be hard to overtake if you're third. So, a really good race. Yeah, we talked about qualifying. Actually, how hard it is to nail a lap around here, because like it feels like it's one. In my opinion, Zanvort is like one of the most, if not the most difficult track we have in this game. And where is the corner where you think you can gain more time, like to nail the lap?
I think during the whole session, really, I was just always lacking in sector 3. I don't know why. It's in the race as well. I think I was just lacking in sector 3. Other than that, it was just a bit of nerves, couldn't hook the lap up, but that's right.
Fair enough. But one final question for you, Leo. Next week we're heading over to Monza. How do you feel heading into next week?
Monza? I don't know. I think I'm alright at that track. The curbs are very hard, but
Yep.
see.
Curbs are interesting at Monza, to put it politely. But,
Well, you guys just raced at Zanvort, which is the most difficult one in terms of curbs, so don't worry about it.
well, yeah, but they don't have curbs that send you into the stratosphere, unlike Monza, where the curbs at Della Roggia just send you into the stratosphere, unless you lower your frame
Sure
rate.
that.
But that's a different topic altogether. But congratulations, Leon, on your second podium finish. Congrats on the P3.
Thank you.
But we'll move on to P2. Crichton, P2 in qualifying and P2 in the race. It's a very solid effort from you tonight. Gave it everything in quali. Was there any more on the table? You there?
Sorry, I'm there. Whoops, was on mute. Yeah, quali I was really quick. I'd say my last run, I think I was up half a tenth, maybe slightly more, heading into that final corner, and yeah, just lost it all there, and it didn't manage to improve. But I was quite happy with the front row. That was my main goal here coming into Zanvort, was just try and get that front row start for the race.
And race start for you. You got covered off from 40 off the line. I guess that wasn't part of your game plan.
Yeah, no, I'd say my initial launch was slightly better than Bailey, but I think I just got on the what's it called, the button just a little bit too quickly and just wheel spun, and then that's kind of where I'd say where it went downhill, and then somehow Kush got ahead of me, which was very annoying, because that's where I basically lost all my battery, and that's where Bailey managed to pull away, and yeah, I'd say that kind of hurt me for the first half of the race.
Yep. You sound exhausted.
Yeah, I'm still sick actually, so.
Oh, bloody hell, mate.
Yeah, not good. Been pretty rough.
The long COVID.
Last week. Oh, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it is long COVID. Like, still had, like, chills and stuff until yesterday, and was just getting hot and cold, so.
Yeah, right.
Not really ideal, but it's alright. Hopefully by third round we'll be back to full health.
Full on Hamilton simulation over here. Gee whiz.
Yeah, but yeah, no, that first stint was super high pace there with Bailey and stuff. I think the gap was about 1.6 for, who knows, like 10 laps or something. So it was crazy. I started to catch him, but I think Bailey had just a touch more battery than me from when I was trying to pass Kush. So yeah, that kind of hurt me there for the first half of the race.
Marco also managed to pick up a boo-boo that you made heading into the final.
Yeah, I did make a few of those actually. And one was quite severe. Was nearly in the wall, but somehow saved it. Then I think lost a second to Bailey there again. So I think the gap was about 2.6. Then I managed to pull it back to 2.3 just before I pitted, and went ham after that on the mediums. First 2 laps, I was pushing very hard, just drained all my battery, just trying to make sure I was in just a second of Bailey, which we were until that safety car came out. But yeah, I was quite happy there until the safety car came out, and then just it's so hard to pass here. It's so hard.
You got close. Really close.
Yeah, I got close, but just not close enough. I don't know, it's weird. I felt like my race pace was slightly quicker than Bailey, but I just couldn't pass him. I think it's because he was running lower wings than me, but yeah. Still, we'll take P2 though. It's a good result considering I guess I almost walled it 3 times, so we'll certainly take P2.
Marco, have you got anything to ask Crichton?
Well, congratulations again for this podium. If I was you, I would be really happy with that result, considering that could have been a 0. Like, with that catch you had. How did you keep it on track, mate? That was... I mean, you just lost 1 second, which is also remarkable, to be honest. Yeah. Because I saw you into the wall, like, as soon as you lost the backhand, I was saying, oh my god, it's gonna hit the wall, but you didn't. So considering COVID and considering all this stuff, I think if I was you, I would be really happy about P2 with that result. I told that on the stream as well. So, GG.
Yeah, no, well,
no problem. I just have a question about qualifying as well, because we noticed that actually no one improved on their last run.
Yeah.
You were... What mistake did you make in the last run, like in what corner on the sector 3, I guess, right?
Yeah. So just the final corner just turned in a little bit early, probably just braked a tad early and just a bit close to that curb on the inside, and that...
The inside one, yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of just cost my run all the way through that final banking corner, then onto the straight, so that's kind of where I lost it, but I think Bailey still probably would have just had me, because his lap was insane tonight, so yeah, hats off to Bailey, he was very consistent in the race as well. I could not pass him, but yeah, it's alright, on to the next round.
Well, it certainly sounded like you gave it 110 tonight, so
yeah,
it's not like you didn't try, that's for sure. One final question for you, Zach. Next week we're heading over to Monza. How do you feel heading into next week?
No idea. I've done 0 laps there, so I can't really tell you, but I think it's a track which I've gone around in the past at. I'm not sure if I won there, but from memory my pace is usually quite good, and hopefully it should be a bit simpler to try and overtake, so that should be nice. And well, I'm sure the race would be much better to watch too for you. Well,
the last time you and a competitive Ferrari battle was definitely one of the most dramatic endings to a Grand Prix I've seen.
That's right. Oh yeah, I did win that one, but then it got taken away, didn't it? That's right.
So nice. That'll be interesting between you and 40 next week if that repeats itself.
Yeah, stuff I reckon next week should be really close, because even tonight Spilly looked quite fast in quali, so I think it could be like a 5 or 6 way fight for pole, so again I'd say quali is going to be quite important for next week.
Well, best of luck then for next week, but for now congratulations on your P2 finish tonight, Zach. Well done. But we'll move on to our race winner, GG Ford. You did it, mate.
Thank you very much. Yeah, mate, that was high pressure race. I felt like every lap was a quality lap, not just end there. Yeah,
well,
it was big.
From the sounds of things, based off what Leo and Zach said before you, it sounded like a pretty intense race out there, and you pulled it off. Got the dub. But
got the dub, man. Yeah.
You also got pole position with a hell of a lap. Take us through it.
Yeah, it was middle run, which was nice because it takes a lot of pressure off the final run, especially maybe too much pressure because I didn't improve, but basically just got the lapping, which was good. I already had a pretty good first banker initially, which was a 5, I think, so that was still like first 2 rows at the end. But yeah, that one just improving by 4/10 was really good laps, so yeah, good place to start, I guess. And I knew I just had to make sure I was leading out of turn 1.
Yeah, actually, we'll go briefly back to qualifying. You had a few moments through quali. You had a few spins.
Yeah.
Was that just out of frustration, or were those genuine mistakes?
Nah, so my first spin, they were both in the same spot. The very first lap I set in my first run, I actually fueled the car up for 2 runs. Just to, I guess, ease into the track and kind of see if I can improve on that second run. And the tyres were actually really bad on that second run, and I was just pushing the car, I guess, too hard for what they were designed for, and so I spun it on the exit going onto the second DRS straight, and that was the same with my final run as well. So I don't think I impeded anyone going out of the way, but yeah, it's just pushing too hard, really.
Yeah, fair enough. But race start worked pretty well for you, I'd say. You managed to cover off Crichton into turn 1. With a clear track in front of you, seemed to pull away pretty well. Was it just giving it 110% right from the get-go?
making sure Zach didn't get into that DRS zone. That was the main one. Yeah, I felt I had really good pace on the hards. And yeah, I think my pace was probably quicker on the hards, but Zach definitely had me on the mediums at the end. But yeah, on the hards, I was just managing the battery, keeping around 50%, just in case if he did, you know, get close, I could just dump a little bit, pull away. So yeah, it was a really helpful actually ease at getting in front of Zach, because as Zach said, he had to push to try and get past, and that allowed me to brake a little bit.
And I also just checked the stream as well, because I'm pretty sure I did capture it. I've got your entire polo on stream.
There you go.
So
perfect, yeah. That'd be a good one to go back.
That was a complete coincidence that I managed to capture all of that, but there you go. I did manage to capture all of it.
Maybe I have to get you on me a bit more. Maybe that's my good luck charm.
Maybe. Keep doing well in qualifying, I'll keep looking.
No.
No, all three of you are bloody quick now. All of you are bloody quick. I've got no idea who to look at during qualifying now.
It's full pressure now, yeah. There's no lane off at all.
And no, you put together a really nice race today, 40. I don't think at any point where I saw you on track, I don't think you made any mistakes. You just did what you needed to do. I never had a Ferrari
strat. That was my only mistake, really.
Oh, really?
Yeah, mate, it was... I was really scared. Zach ended up pretty much doing a perfect pit stop. He came out about 2 seconds behind. I think it was Spilly and Logboy on hards, which was right in my pit window, so I actually couldn't pit the next lap because I would have come out right on top of them. So that allowed Zach 2 laps on the mediums, which is a bit frustrating. So I came out on the mediums, but it was tough, man. It was tough. A lot of thinking.
It definitely looked tough out there, especially when you got a Silver Arrows just hounding the back of you, especially after that safety car period. Every time into turn 1, Zach was always deep under brakes, right on your exhaust.
No, he was definitely better under brakes than me tonight, that's for sure.
Oh, man. Some of those... He gets close. He gets very close. But,
I just turn and close my eyes most of the time.
Just trying to make the little red arrow pop up.
Hope and pray, bro. That's all you got to do. Marco, have you got anything to ask our race winner?
Well, what should I say, Bailey? Like, if there was a to-do list on how to win a race, you have ticked all the answers, basically, on this one. P1, in qualifying, always in the lead, always looked like... You didn't feel like... there was a high pressure for sure, but you didn't feel like you were going to lose the position. You didn't feel like this. You were much faster than Crichton in the last corner, actually, which I think helped you a lot.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I did notice that a lot throughout the race.
You were gaining always like 1/10 or something, which helped you a lot, which was actually that extra 10th that Zach needed to overtake you.
Yeah, down
yeah, and what do you think it was like that made you faster over there? Was it corner entry or like just set up? I don't know.
I don't know. The car actually felt that was probably the best part of the track. For me, like the car was nailed through that spot. I could pretty much get on the throttle really quickly, and the car would like glide out a little bit to the exit curb, which was nice. So I guess that I don't know how the setup stuck to it. I just tweaked a few things around, and that was it. So I think Zach had me in the first sector, especially on the banked corner, like turn 3, I think it is. But thankfully
that's where I gained most.
Thankfully at the end of the lap there, when it mattered most, I was good, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. But one final question for you, 40, and there's only one way you can answer it, considering the car you're in. Next week we're heading over to Monza, which just so happens to be in Italy, which, fun fact, Ferrari is from Italy as well. How do you feel heading into next week? And Marco is definitely listening.
After joining the dots, it sounds like a lot of pressure to me. But no, it's
you're only in a Ferrari. There is no pressure. No.
Exactly. There's just gonna be 350,000 people watching you. You know.
No pressure.
Well, it's not just people, Marco. It's Italians. It's very different.
True that.
Different.
350,000 me.
Yes.
No, it's Monza's always a close race. Last time I was in Ferrari there, I won it.
Alright.
Yeah. So let's hope that can continue to next week. But yeah, I don't mind it. It's a good track. I think it's much easier in this game than it has been. But if it's easier, it means everyone's gonna be quick. So yeah, it'll be a very close play, I think.
Well, no pressure then. Next week.
No pressure. No.
No, but seriously, best of luck for next week, and congrats.
I'm gonna cheer for you.
There you go.
Thank you, man.
We're going to have a slight Italian bias for next week.
Yeah.
No,
Let's not forget Alphari as well. Let's not forget
Alphari
though.
we're going to be fixated on Bailey during qualifying the whole time.
Nah, let's go Mercedes. Woohoo.
I'll be keeping an eye out for all you folks, because you're all bloody quick now. So this is going to be a very interesting race next week. But best of luck to all three of you, and yeah, congrats, Bailey. Put together a hell of a race today, bud. Congrats.
No, thank you very much, Meg. Cheers, Marco, as well.
That's I think, Marco, that'll wrap up an interesting Grand Prix here at Zanvort. It wasn't a race full of action. It was just sort of, we had drama and some really good driving that we got to watch. So yeah, I think it's about as good as a Dutch Grand Prix could probably get in the dry. You don't expect a lot of action, so yeah, it's just sort of how Zanvort works. But I'd like to thank you for joining me here in the commentary box again. Your help is dearly appreciated, so thank you for that.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I think, everyone, that will wrap up another stream here on Race Spec Esports. As I mentioned, it's not a bad race here at Zanvort that we had, but yeah, it's probably as good as we're going to get. But I think with everything finally said and done, it's time for us to wrap everything up. I've been Lane Everingham. My co-commentator, as always, is GeForce Pato. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next week for round 3 of the championship at Autodromo Nazionale Monza for the Italian Grand Prix. Until then, it's goodbye.